A lot of you guys have been asking me to set up a store page where you can browse DiplexHeated merchandise, so I have. The link in the description takes you there. As always, thank you so much for leaving a like and a comment on the video. Your support really helps me out. Let's start the video. Hey, what's up guys, DiplexHeated here again. Welcome back to part 6 of our Battle of Berlin mini-series. We are playing RobZ Realism mod, and today we're going to be wrapping up the series that we started last Monday. I am excited to be bringing you the second half of the map that we saw action on yesterday. I'm excited. Without further ado, we're going to start the battle straight away. It's probably going to be a long one, and you're going to notice that I've left some of the Germans alive from the previous video, mainly the men along the railroad side, sort of on our left side here of the railroad tracks. So they're going to be facing the oncoming Russians. But the map pretty much ended shortly after the crossings here on the left side of the two bridges that you can see on screen right now. And currently, that map has been unlocked, so if we turn the camera around, this is what we're going to be witnessing today. There's plenty of cool spaces and street quarters to be witnessing some serious fighting around. I'm excited. This is part 6. The Russians are coming. The Germans are defending. This is the final hour of World War II in Europe. By now, Hitler could already be dead in the bunker by suicide. But little do the Germans know that they are now fighting for their own survival and their comrades. Plenty of Russians are coming up on the Germans, and we're going to get a good stationary position, and we're just going to enjoy the firefight. That's absolutely crazy. There are so many Russians attacking our positions right now. We're going to be taking a look at the right side by the train hall, and Russians are flowing out of the entrance right now. They're going to be going head to head against the German defenders among the ruins. There's plenty of gnarly close quarter combat to be had on this side. This side is going to be very infantry focused, and this side is way more focused on close quarter combat, while if we head to the other side here on the left side, we're going to be seeing some more open areas. How's it looking? This bridge has been partially destroyed by German AT weapons and mainly artillery, I believe. And it doesn't look like we have too much Russian presence right here by the streets. I think it's a bit of a suicide to try and cross over the bridge with all the German guns aiming down on those positions. We've got plenty of Russian soldiers heading for the center. Of course, we have the possibility of crossing over the railroad tracks and entering the other side of the railroad tracks here. And all they need to do is clear out the Germans in the nearby buildings, and they've gotten themselves a foothold. First Russian soldiers are going to be making that crossing, and they're going to get themselves into a bit of a firefight straight away. Brilliant. That's awesome. Okay, we're going to be looking at the center positions again. The Russians are having a hard time crossing the actual bridge. But troops from the nearby crossings around the center bridge have made it across. But the men trying to actually cross the bridge itself have met an unfortunate end there. That is rather disastrous for the people trying to achieve such a crossing. But it seems as the Russians have gained a pretty good foothold on this side. We're going to flip up the mini-map and get a quick look at the current positions. We've got the Russians in red. So far keeping a pretty good line. Down here there is some good gnarly close quarter combat between some of the German defenders. Oh, man was shot down, but the mortar finished the German defender inside the house itself, or the ruins, whatever was left of it. Here's one of the pack guns completely destroyed along with some of the German soldiers nearby. We've got a mortar team on the side that's been completely eliminated. The left flank right now is starting to empty up with Germans. We've got a few German defenders inside the church. You can see them right here. MG42 gunner firing away. They've locked themselves in. That could end in a rather unfortunate manner for the defenders. Down the center, it's still looking okay. We've got a few positions still alive. The defense gets a lot heavier as we progress further into the map itself. Here's some authentic World War II street combat. Just imagine this in black and white. And a cameraman, a shaking cameraman, in the final hours of Berlin. I'm sure there's some footage to be had and seen. Probably plenty in archives. Since the video camera was fairly new at the time, it was obviously greatly appreciated and used during the war itself. What else to film but a bloody conflict? That is what catches the most eyes, and that's, in a way, a brilliant use of a camera. Left positions here on the German side looking pretty okay. Taking Russian artillery fire, though, from the other side. Mortars and other guns with their shells landing pretty close. That's awesome. So far the Germans are doing a pretty good job of holding this. We're going to look onto the right side here by the canal. Got a few Germans holding it down. This is the crossing on the right side. The only way to get across here is to cross one of the three small bridges. The main one here is here on the right side. There's plenty of Germans in the buildings and down here protecting that crossing. We've got more troops around here in a more irregular formation. Not too much cover to be had around there. And we've got this bridge, which is covered by an MG42 further back here in the trench, and a whole trench position itself, really. So that's rather fine. So if the Russians do not choose to go through the city quarter here and trying to cross these three bridges, they're going to have to go through the main street down here. And they're going to reach another bridge, which is also going to be very defended. So in general, the Russians really don't have any great options in what to do right now. Numbers are still good for the Russians. They're getting troops across the river. Not a river, but the railroad tracks, rather. I'm not entirely sure what to call it. It's not a tunnel. It's not a river. It's not a canal. Simply some railroad tracks in a decline, so to speak. One could easily fill it up with water and call it a canal. Some Russians catching a second breath here. Ooh! That man was just absolutely destroyed by the mortar shell. That's rather gruesome. Some people are patching up, drinking some water, reloading their guns, relinking with their squads. Troops are coming across. Armor can't cross here because the bridges are completely destroyed. We've got a tank down here that might try and make its way up. We will see what that thing's gonna do. We've got another tank back here covering the bridge and the approach. So it looks like infantry is going to have to do most of the work for now. Gonna have another look at the minimap and focus on some of the combat up here by the far left side. We have an MG42 position down here, which is pretty well located, and there's also a half track. It's going to be able to fire some AT shells, perhaps even HE from this small gun at approaching Russians. Other than that, there's some defensive positions upstairs. There's more Germans in the building quarter behind here, and this building itself is just absolutely packed with Germans, holding sort of an important point here in the center where there's a lot of area to be covered. A lot of potential attack approaches that need to be covered by German rifles, so that's a good position. The Russians are approaching the 3 bridges. That's going to give them a way to cross and flank the more central positions here on the map. We'll see how the crossing goes. The defenders are starting to open up, and the Russians are massing on the crossings right now. Some pretty heated combat is appearing among the ruins of Berlin. We're going to look at the situation on the far left flank. Saw that one of the IS-2s had crossed, and it has indeed. It's standing right here. It must have just squared off against the half-track that was unfortunately not facing in its direction, and it has been taken out. Even if this half-track was facing the IS-2, it would have been knocked out. So it looks like the positions on this side have been fairly cleared out. There's a German soldier holding it down here on the left side, and he's dead. Simply too many Russian soldiers approaching him. Let's take a look at the mini-map. Right now what I can tell is that the Russians need to knock out this building here, and it looks like they're all heading for it. We're gonna have ourselves a pretty nice, interesting, epic firefight around here that's gonna play out as its own little story in this greater good, in this greater, more bigger story, rather said. This IS-2 back here is finally backing up and realized that it couldn't quite get around the side here of the canal to flank. Ooh, big explosion back there. Oh, some serious Russian artillery. I think it took out our King Tiger. Oh, that is a bloody shame. Could have been an airstrike too. No idea what just happened, but That was nasty. Could definitely be a tactical airstrike from the Russian Air Force here around Berlin. Knocking out some of the more serious targets. What are you doing, half-track? David versus Goliath. Well, they're all dead, but still. Perhaps they were trying to aid their comrades inside the building. They're kind of trapped here. There's no doubt about that. They're trying to hold up in this top left corner of the building. Nope, there's still a driver active inside the half-track. We'll see what that situation evolves to. There's a lot of Russian soldiers around here fighting. The Russians are about to cross the canal into the final part here of the German defense. Germans have their entrenched positions and they're ready to hold down the center area, which would be right here. We've got a Panther tank supporting right back here. We've obviously got the fortunate loss of a King Tiger, probably due to the Russian Air Force. I doubt an artillery shell could be so accurate. And we've also got a Dicker Max sitting by and just waiting for the Russians to come up. We've got a Pak 40 that's preparing on the side. We still have some Germans who are fighting some of the remaining, or some of the Russians rather, fighting some of the remaining Germans here on the side of the canal, but they're starting to clean it up quite nicely. If we look right now, we can see that there's a clear red line of Russians along right here by the canal. They haven't crossed yet because they're still fighting the Germans on the other side and they haven't really gained a foothold, but I'm sure they'll cross pretty soon. Right now they're going to stick to some more long-range engagement before they decide to make that move. Got some pretty nasty ruins around here. There's a couple of German soldiers holding this down. They've got a clear look at the crossing back there, and there are Russian troops trying to cross the open. One man was just shot down as he tried to cross the street, and there are of course more Russians nearby. This is truly just hell on earth right now. To be in Berlin, the year of 1945. Got a nice little screenshot of some Russian fighters. That is an unfortunate ending for the Dicker Max, and this time that caught me off guard. Spooked me, almost made me choke on the drink. I thought the Dicker Max was shearing in on the IS-2, which I believe it was. But perhaps it was doing some final adjustments, or perhaps it was changing ammunition. But one thing is for sure, the IS-2 came out victorious out of that engagement. And it's going to leave that Dicker Max burning back there. Oh, I caught that explosion on the photo. Oh my lord. Right now this is pretty disastrous for the tank itself. It's gotten itself somewhat stuck down here by the tank trench, or at least the trench that's meant to stop the tanks from crossing. And what I can tell is that the Pack and the Panther have dealt enough damage to knock out the crew inside. This tank is absolutely disabled right now. It's not going to move anywhere. Crew has been killed. More Russian infantry in the area. I believe I hear a Russian tank right here. It's gotten itself a bit stuck. It's had its treads disabled. It's rather understandable, seeing as a little bit hard to travel around here. And there's plenty of German infantry with Panzerfausts and other AT grenades that will do enough damage to knock out Nice too. Looks like infantry's going to have to deal with the majority of the remaining fighting here to capture the center square. I've got a happy surprise for all of you people out there. The King Tiger is still functional. I presume that the airstrike or artillery strike made the crew a bit dizzy, but it's back in action. I just saw the turret move, and we might get to see that happen again. I'm sure we will once more. Russian armor and infantry closes in on its position. That's a serious artillery strike back there in the distance. That was crazy. Big explosion. Lots of Russian infantry moving in on these center trenches by now. See the downed IS-2 back here. Russian infantry clearing out the right flank. We've got a medical base back here for wounded and such, which has probably been abandoned by most German soldiers right now. The Russians are going to be closing in on it. Center square seems to be under control of the Russians. Panther is still active, from what I can tell. We'll see if Russian AT infantry can knock it out. No Russian tanks seems to have made it further into the city. So far, that is. We had some severe firefights around these areas. Russian tank, they're still active, but disabled. This is such a humongous battle. Oh! He really jumped away from that explosion. Like a proper action jump. That was really cool looking. Taking a look at the map again. We've got plenty of Russians around the flanks. They've closed in and eliminated most of the German positions back here. They seem to have flanked around. The trenches have seen a pretty bloody close quarter combat fight. I mean, look at all the Russians and Germans just littering dead in their own blood. It's just absolutely horrible. But the trenches have finally fallen to the Russians, and I believe they're going to be trying to make a move in on the German flanks here, still holding down the center. Right now it's closing in to be the final German headquarters here holding. This is pretty much what is left right now of the German position in this part of the city. This here is the last couple of hours of the German Reich as we know it. Got a nice, interesting mortar position up here on the roof. We're not on the roof. I presume this is what's left of the actual living room or something of the building. It's lost its walls, but it makes for a pretty good mortar position. So they're going to be shelling the Russians downtown, so to speak. One of the IS-2s was just knocked out by the King Tiger. That is still indeed in action. Russian infantry's coming in from the left flank, surrounding the German trenches. This Panther is still active. Just look at the bloodbath of Russian troops trying to actually cross further into the city. This is absolutely disastrous. Horrifying sight. All they need to do is maneuver from left to right, try and get closer to the Panther. But it's still holding this down. Looking at the minimap right now, there's a clear trench and a clear position of German soldiers holding this side of the street. Got some interesting positions in the shape of like an inbuilt bunker. But unfortunately for them, Russians are coming in from behind here. And soon they're going to have the Panther entirely surrounded. Looking up here, we've got Russians crossing the canal. They've got some supporting fire back here. They've knocked out this position. This flak is no longer firing. The troops around the headquarters have finally gotten themselves engaged in the fight. They've lost several troops defending outside. Russian infantry will finish this. That seems like a certainty. And the Germans will have to do their best to hold them back. That is so cool. Love the colors and everything. Panther's still active. That is absolutely crazy. Oh! A man's Molotov cocktail just got hit and it set a Russian soldier on fire. That is rather crazy. I haven't seen anything like that happen before. There's still German troops though in the building, and they're going to be doing their best to defend the rear of this Panther. More Russians are coming around. Absolutely crazy battle right now. More Russians crossing the river. Absolutely insane. Absolutely crazy right now. Oh, bazooka shot. Sorry, but that was a bit far away from the microphone. Bazooka shot straight into the MG's position, and that has finally knocked out the gunner there on the left side of the building. That was really cool because I just caught it. I was a little bit unprepared there. I was about to take a sip out of my Coke Zero. And Russians are starting to surround the building itself. We've actually got troops up here by the windows that have gone around, and they're sending up more troops around here too. This is going to be rather hectic for the German defenders. German mortar back there is still active. Looks like the Russians are closing in on it though. Germans inside the bunker has been knocked out. The Russians have captured it. And it's going to come down to the King Tiger. It's going to be the last thing on this side of the street that's going to be holding against the oncoming Russians. bazooka shot right into the building. That was really cool. This King Tiger is still active. There's plenty of Russians around it. Oh, that bazooka was going to try and point blank it. Didn't quite work, and he killed himself in the process. We'll see if the... There it is, my friends. Part 6 of our Battle of Berlin miniseries. I hope you've enjoyed this journey that we started last Monday. We've seen plenty of different types of combat. And ultimately, it is, of course, the Russians that are going to walk out victorious. Ultimately ending the battle and World War II as we know it in Europe. On Monday, we're going to be heading to the Pacific. And we're going to do the Japanese versus the United States. We might even involve some English assets too, or British rather. We'll start off with a line defense video, I think. I've got some pretty cool ideas, and we'll do plenty of beach landings and some cool jungle fights. Hope you guys enjoy this video. It's been a rather massive battle. Let's take a look at casualties. The red will be represented by the Russians, and the yellow will be the Germans. And as you can tell, this city is littered with thousands of dead.